Composable B2B marketing simply means building your marketing stack from the best in class modular components rather than relying on like one single, like all in one platform. So it's kind of like Lego blocks as opposed to a monolith. Scott Brinker over at Chief Martech talks about the Stacky Awards every year in the spring. They have companies that say, here's like a cool design of the map of all the tools that we're using in our marketing stack. And it kind of celebrates the fact that companies are using lots of different tools. I once counted all the entries into the Stacky Awards, and it was like 35 different tools in use. That's really what composability means, being able to use like whatever tools you want and plug them in.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the OnBase Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Moody, and we're going to jump in today and talk about something that we all deal with, and we know this problem well. Most B2B marketing stacks are connected, but not often coordinated. And we're going to jump in and discuss composable B2B marketing and why orchestration, not just more tools, never just more tools, hopefully, is what separates high-performing go-to-market teams from the rest. And we have an incredible guest to carry us through this conversation. Joining us today is Dan Rosenberg, founder and CEO of Octane11, and one of the clearest thinkers on how modern B2B teams design flexible, multi-channel strategies that actually scale. Dan, thanks for your time today. It's great to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, one of the best headlines I've ever written when I was an analyst was technology alone will not solve your problems, right? Like it was kind of the notion of what we're going to hit on today. So I know we'll tap into that. And you've spent a great career across ad tech, martech, data, and now AI. We were talking about that earlier, some of your moves. But from your perspective, what feels fundamentally different about the moment we're in right now in B2B marketing versus 5 or 10 years ago?
I mean, it's an awesome time to be in marketing right now. I mean, AI is finally really here in a real way. And there's so many amazing tools and techniques. So it's really fun. But I would say that it does feel a little bit like incremental right now. It's kind of like when you build like a campfire, you've got a big pile of wood and you've got like little fires you're lighting around the side to kind of catch it all on fire. And you've got like all these point solution tools that you use in marketing that are like those little fires. Like everything's getting AI enabled, content creation or video snippets or voiceovers or strategy and all that. And it's like some of those fires are starting to catch on, but it's not like a full on blaze yet. That's kind of what it feels like now, that things are starting to catch on. Like, we're using AI for our own marketing, and our clients are definitely using it. But I think where we're headed is it's going to become the whole thing. I mean, I think the AI tools, when you think about the AI tools that you're using, like when do they start to get connected? Where you've got like all your marketing data and it's connected to that one-on-one creative and across all your channels and performance tracking, optimization, like all of that. Definitely like human in the loop for strategy and curation and like the gut check of like, is this a good idea or not? But all that busy work is, I think it's going to be amazing to see all that get really automated. And that's when it's going to be really fun. That's going to be the big like bonfire. And that's kind of where we're headed. And actually like, that's what we're building at Octane11. Like we built that data layer that connects all the different multi-channel B2B marketing tools and lets our clients like really start using AI for analytics and decision-making across everything they're doing. And they can do it now. And it's amazing. And it's like, it's only getting better and it's like all super exciting. So I think it's a great time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the fact that what we do at work bleeds into how we live our lives and our personal lives and the tasks we do, that part is very exciting for me. I mean, even yesterday, my 14-year-old made the baseball team and they send the schedule out. And look, a year ago, 2 years ago, right, I would have had to go through, pull up Google Calendar, type all of those in. They didn't have an easily accessible link that you could just import or whatever. Hey, I can just take a screenshot. I don't even have to send the URL. I took a screenshot, put it in Gemini. I think I tried ChatGPT first and it didn't like working with Google. To your point about things working together, put it in Gemini. It automatically loaded it all in my Google Calendar. So I'm like, oh, cool. That just saved me what, 10 minutes? I mean, it's only 10 minutes, but every single day we're working that way. So that part's very exciting for me. And, one thing that I think we've seen a ton in marketing, we love our acronyms. We love to name things. We love to come up with new terms, and they come and go like the tides. But there's been a lot of conversation. I see LinkedIn post about this probably every other week about ABM is dead or ABM doesn't work. I'd love to know what you think people are actually reacting to when they say that and what's being misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, I love the term ABM, and I agree. It always kind of bugs me that like people are arguing about like, what does it mean? Is this a good idea? But like to me, like all B2B marketing is account-based marketing. I mean, if you're in B2B, you're selling to businesses and you're not marketing to businesses, then what are you doing? So it's like, I think maybe what people are reacting to is like, sometimes you can get like stuck in a mode where you're just like over targeting. Like maybe you're just trying to target accounts that you think are in market because like they've got, some kind of intent scores or things like that. And you think that it's going to be the most efficient, like you're going to target, or serve content to them and they're going to engage with it and that's going to show great ROI. But that's a little bit oversteering. Like that means that you're ignoring like the 90% of your potential market that isn't in market today, but like you need to create the brand awareness so that you're filling, that, upper funnel or even like connecting with users that aren't like the direct buyer so that when people are asking them their opinion, they're like, oh yeah, I know that company. Like that's kind of that like interplay, like is ABM, if you define it narrowly, like, yeah, maybe that's over targeting. That's not good. But like marketing to businesses, like that's a good idea. If you're in B2B, I mean, just like one kind of maybe funny example, like we had a client that was uploading a target account list into a Meta. So you've got like, here's my customers. I can load that and I can target those folks on Meta. They wanted to get more scale. So they turned on lookalike modeling, but in Meta, lookalike modeling is like demographics. So like maybe there are people in the original market who are like, 30 something women living in cities or something. And like, so now they're just targeting all these people who demographically look the same, but they don't care about like that like server security system that the client was selling. So like, that's kind of like the example of like why like you got to start with the business, like B2B buyers and people who care about what you're selling. I mean, so that's just a kind of a counterexample that proves like, well, you got to do account-based marketing. Like you got to start with that. So anyway, like off the soapbox, but like that's kind of my view on it.
No, I agree. I mean, even if people don't use the term account-based marketing, it's still going to be there, right? It's in everything we're going to do with AI and layering additional context and personalization. So, I don't think it's ever going away, and it's always been there. That's the other irony of the whole thing. Before we called it that, that's how the best sellers always sold. They knew their top accounts. They got to know them really well. That's what they did. So, I'd love to hear across your wide range of experience and working with lots of incredible clients. When you look at the teams who are succeeding with account-based today, what is the biggest mindset shift that they've made compared to some of the earlier approaches?
I think there's just like that kind of age-old formula. It's like start with your ICP or your ICPs, like multiple like ideal customer profiles. Like start with that, develop a message that resonates with those buyers, and then reach them wherever they're at. I mean, that's the X of the ABX. It's like across channels or across platforms, but then make sure to track it all. I think a lot of times that gets left out because I think a lot of marketers have been just thinking about like high level metrics like clicks, which, isn't revenue, or they're like going very, very low and saying like the last mile, like click and a buy, which like hardly ever happens in B2B. So like you need to really instrument your channels so that you're getting signal like at all those different, steps across all the different channels, like bringing that into a place and testing and learning. And then, what's even better is when you can take those signals and then hand them off to your sales team too. So you're not just using the data for improving your marketing, but you're giving like, more lead data to your salespeople because, let's face it, I mean, people are not filling out forms and asking to, get an outreach from a salesperson. Like you got to know who's in market. So that's really working. I mean, there's one example that I really love, which is like, I think a great case study on this. Jean English, she's the CMO of CoreWeave now, but before that, she was the CMO of Juniper Networks. And they did this awesome campaign with Christina Hendricks. She's the red-haired actress from Mad Men. And they had this edgy, like totally on-brand creative, but then they sliced it and diced it into like every channel possible. I mean, they had like TV and billboards and YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and CTV and events and email, like everything. But they tracked it all, everything they could, back to account level reach and engagement and pipeline. And like that is like a big scale version of how to do that. And not every market has a budget to have like an award-winning actor, but that's the framework. So like the companies that we talk to that are doing great, they just have that framework. ICP, great hero creative, multiplex the creative, feature target customer, measure and learn. And the AI is just going to make that even easier and better. So that's going to be super cool.
I'm a huge fan of Mad Men. I always love the campaigns where people turn not small. I was going to say one small thing, but it is the old days of let's take our pillar piece of content and atomize it and be everywhere. But when it's very orchestrated, and this fits perfectly with a term I mentioned in the lead in. I do not want to steal your thunder and offer my definition, but let's talk about composable B2B marketing. When you say that, what is the simplest way to explain it to everyone listening who may not know that?
I mean, composable B2B marketing simply just means building your marketing stack from the best in class modular components rather than relying on like one single, like all in one platform. So it's kind of like Lego blocks as opposed to like a monolith. And one guy who writes and talks about it a lot, Scott Brinker over at Chief Martech, and talks about like the Stacky Awards every year in the spring. They have companies that say like, here's like a cool design of like the map of like all the tools that we're using in our marketing stack. And it kind of celebrates the fact that companies are using lots of different tools. I mean, I once counted all the entries into the Stacky Awards and it was like 35 different tools in use. And that's pretty common. Where companies are using all that. Knowing that, that's what composability means, like being able to use like whatever tools you want and plug them in. And that's been hard traditionally, but like it's getting better and easier with some of the interconnectivity across the tools. And that makes it pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've won a Stacky Award in the past, and it was such a cool visual that creative had just to show how everything works together, because as far as for the trees, right? When you're in it, you use what you use. You don't see how everything's hooking together and powering what's happening here and here. And I've certainly lived the monolith experience. I was acquired into a company, one of the first marketing clouds, and it was the bet that people want to buy everything from one person. And, I just don't think a lot of folks work that way, but let's let you unpack that. So what is the problem that composability actually solves that a traditional B2B martech stack may not be able to address?
Well, I mean, the thing that we all love, all of us who have been at this for a long time, is just how much marketing is just constantly changing. Like there's always something new. And actually by definition, it's always going to be that way because marketing is about getting attention. And so you just have to be breaking through the clutter all the time. And that means that you have to be always trying something new. Like, it's always going to be changing and new formats and all that. So like you have to be flexible and you have to have like a setup, a platform that's going to help you to test and learn. I mean, like a year ago, who was thinking about LLM search optimization? And now it's like a tool that, there's lots of tools that help with that and everyone's testing them. And like even 6 months ago, who was doing ABM on Reddit? And now everyone's talking about ABM on Reddit. It's like a super high demand. So you need to have your stack set up so that you can plug in these different tools and constantly be testing and learning.
I love that. And I mean, most B2B teams are using tools from different categories, right? And we see that in the Stacky Awards and Scott Brinker's award. There are way too many tools now. But if an enterprise is using a tool like Demandbase or one of our competitors or LinkedIn, email, events, content, what do you think separates a stack that's connected versus one that's really composable?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might sound subtle, but I think the difference is if you're connected, like you can kind of daisy chain data from one platform to another, but you still need to like go into each platform to see what's happening. When you're talking about something that's composable, like you really got more of a unified account model where like you can analyze everything. You can plug in tools and data and you can analyze everything together, activity and outcomes, no matter what tools you're using. And that's the approach that we take at Octane11. Like we work with all the tools you mentioned, and our job is to be the glue across that composable stack. And we have clients that love demand base, but they use other tools too. They use Octane11 to see the activity from demand base alongside the other things that they're doing. That's actually why we started Octane11. When I was at MediaMath and I was overseeing marketing there, we were huge demand-based customers. We love demand-based. Even though MediaMath was a DSP, we were a media buying platform, we also loved demand-based, but we were also using like a dozen other tools. And what we really needed was a way to connect the dots across everything in an easy way. And that became the idea for Octane11. But something that's pretty interesting in kind of the AI context is that the way this is all getting connected is through the MCP protocol. And that's the model context protocol that the AI tools use. And that's how the AI tools talk to each other. So like at Octane11, for example, we synthesize the B2B data and then we make it available through an MCP. And we have an analytics agent that uses that MCP that you can interact with to get insights and get recommendation. And then you can also use it to push data to other platforms that have an MCP, like receiver. It's like an API. That's the AI version. So you can use the data from Octane11 and use it with whatever LLM you want or any other AI enabled tool. And that's where things get really interesting. And that's like where the composability becomes super interesting, where you really have data flowing from different tools to get the best value from each of the tools in your stack.
I love that. I think that's such an exciting space to be in too, for all of us in marketing, where we don't have to go to, let's say 6, but it's really more like 40 different places to do different things and hope they're all talking together. If we've got the tech side buttoned up, let's jump to the human side. So we know as humans, sometimes we make mistakes, some more than others. Where do you think teams most commonly break down when they try to orchestrate across all the channels, all the data, measuring everything, who owns what? What do you think is the human element that's most common to break?
Well, what I've seen for myself as a CMO, and then also with companies that we work with, is that sometimes when you start to talk about ABM and this kind of like this concept of going like across channels, like sometimes it gets a little over engineered. And so you don't need to go big on day one. Like you can start simple. I mean, just like nail that ICP and those target accounts, get that creative story, execute over as many channels as your team and your budget can handle. You don't need to do 20 channels, but like start with a few, test and learn, add more as you go, but like make sure you're really connecting like that ICP, the creative, the channels, the measurement, the analysis, and this you can kind of learn and improve. And I mean, I guess like some teams do get caught up by ownership or like team silos, and you definitely have to be careful of that. But like if you start small and you kind of prove the point with a couple of channels, like what you'll be able to do is go to other teams and say, hey, like we should get our social data in here too. Like there's a benefit to like the data you can get and show how, because I use social as an example because a lot of times it lives off in a silo, but like show how the social engagement, like where it fits in the customer journey. Like it plays a huge role, and it should be visualized and measured in that way. And that's another, like, the composability helps you to plug in those tools that you're using, across those different silos.
Yeah, I love that. Social actually rolls up to me, so bonus point to you for that, because I didn't tell you that when we were talking. But as we have all these signals, I'm thinking about how we separate the important signals from the noise and what matters the most. How do you think about that with the teams you're working with?
I think it's the same thing, like on the execution side, it's the same thing with like the measurement and the analytics. Like you just start simple. I mean, engagement tied to accounts are tied to pipeline and revenue. Like with that alone, like you can get a great picture of what's working. Like which channels are engaging the clients that are turning into pipeline and turning into revenue. And something that's really cool again on the AI is that it's like the AI is great at interpreting that. So in the past, I mean, maybe even like now for most companies, like they're looking at tons of data and they're trying to make sense of it. And that's can be really hard. But if you're plugged into data across your channels with the outcomes from CRM data for revenue and pipeline, and you can plug that into a smart LLM that has a context, it'll give you like a great point of view on what's working, how things are working relative to each other, which you should do more of, or things that need attention. So it's getting pretty smart. And I think it's going to just really step into the shoes of a lot of the traditional attribution tools. I mean, there were a lot of attribution tools over the years that were just like super complex that needed like a data scientist, a lot of advisory hours to like set up an instrument and like tweak it and get it quite right. And, even when it got right, people disagreed with like the assumptions, but I don't really think you need that anymore. I think if you've got your data organized and integrated with a tool like Octane11 or something else, like the AI can it's amazing at interpreting it and give you like real insights that you can share with the CMO or the CFO or the CRO or CEO of the board. And it's really only getting better.
Yeah, I think we're all excited for that. Attribution has been the bane of many marketers' existence for a very long time, trying to fight those fights and win those battles. And what you said resonated with me too, because it wasn't that long ago when I was an analyst, and my most popular research piece was double funnel. And it was literally from that pain point of trying to understand what was working and what was not in a very large, high growth organization. And everything was a drop down. So they had a very sophisticated BI tool.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, let's see how events perform. Boop, boop, boop. Here's how events perform. Okay, let's see how website performs. Boop, boop, boop. Website. And, I was sitting there as an analyst going, well, but how have you ever put them side by side to see throughout the entire funnel how it performs? Because you're being told your conversion rate for this is bad, but compared to what? And then it was, oh, dummy, you needed to put everything side by side. So the fact that now we can look at an infinite number of data sources and have those inferences and the comparison, I mean, that's very exciting to me as a marketer, and hopefully everyone's geeking out about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a super fun time. And think about this, like not just for sure, you want to be able to compare your marketing tools side by side. Like, I mean, you should have visibility on that, but like, hey, there was a product launch that quarter, or there was like some kind of global event that like pushed down sales. Like the AI will be able to ingest all that kind of context. So like getting your data in and the global context is going to be incredible.
I was laughing because the detective work we've done in our past lives as marketers to figure out, wait, why did it spike in October of last year? What was in October? Oh, the brand launch. That's what it was. Yeah. Or, actually in Google Analytics, someone annotating different things that happen. That used to be how we would watch that. You'd have to put a little label in and say, here's what we changed. So that's really cool. One question I have for you before we jump into the lightning round, some of the quick hitters that we like to ask. We've talked a lot about accounts and the individuals at those accounts. Your meta example is really good too. Like we can't conflate the two. We have to be smart with starting with the account and moving down. As we think about buying groups, so connecting the important folks at an account and trying to orchestrate things with them together, how does composable marketing fundamentally change how we engage buying groups?
Well, I mean, I think buying groups are great. I mean, B2B purchases are most often made by a group. So you have to be top of mind for all the different influencers in the group. And that's what Jan Schwartz and Mimi Turner, I don't know if you've read any of their stuff at LinkedIn B2B Institute, they call it buyability, where the brand recognition of your product when it comes to the buying committee is critical to getting everyone over the finish line to make the buy, because it greatly reduces the risk. So I think a lot of companies get overly focused on like precise targeting. Like this is the buying group of like, these are the 5 people. We just got to interact with them. But I don't think you need to obsess about that, because in reality, for most B2B products, like you need to be known by a lot more people. The finance department, like the procurement team, the CEO, teams that you may not think are part of the decision are going to be part of the decision. So the more your brand is known across the organization, the better. And that just means like loosen the targeting, I'd say. That's our recommendation. So it's, across departments. If you're in a very big company, you can narrow it down by, the right departments or the right geography, that, you're focused on. But for smaller companies that you're selling into, like just target the whole company because you kind of need everyone to be, on board. So, but anyway, that's more about, buying groups on composability. I mean, it's just about being able to use whatever tools or media is going to help you reach that those target audience, the target companies and whatever departments, whatever you define to be the buying group and the influencers. So you can kind of break through the noise and then measure it.
Well, cool. So we like to ask some consistent questions, and I am really excited for your answers on this because with composable marketing and a lot of the things you're doing, you probably have used an infinite number of tools. So the first question is, what are your favorite tools or technology that you'd recommend to our audience?
Well, we got a lot of clients who love demand base, of course, but some of the things that also our clients are seeing a lot of success with, maybe a little bit new, is like CTV on LinkedIn. Companies are loving that. Companies are loving ABM on Reddit. That one is like come out of nowhere. So like we are seeing like the larger platforms, like seeing some, new stuff and innovation. But for like the AI tools, there's just so much. I mean, it's coming in so fast and furious. Like my Instagram, like every other post is an ad and they're for really cool tools, and most of them are like AI marketing tools. As soon as you download one, you're going to see ads for a bunch of others. I just was trying out ARC ads for like AI voiceovers. Maybe you'll see some ads that we're running using tools like that, or CapCut we use for our video editing. We're starting to do a lot of video for our own marketing. So I think the innovation is amazing. It's going to get great when the tools get connected, though. These are all still like point solutions in a lot of ways that are off on their own silos. Imagine when they start talking to each other through the MCP protocol. It's going to be super cool. I expect Octane11 to be part of that. But that's where things are going to get really fun. And that's not too far out.
Yeah, we have some cool stuff we're working on that will plug right into what you're doing already, which is nice. But it is frustrating when you hit a stumbling block when you're using any AI chat interface. And then you're like, oh, you have to go here and do these 3 things and then go here and do these 3 things. Eventually, that's just going to be staggered along like dominoes. Yeah. Well, what are your favorite information sources? So we call this good reads, but it could be book, blog, newsletter, podcast. You just talked about buyability. I'm curious, what are some of the things that inspire you or keep you grounded that you recommend to folks?
Well, I mean, in our category, in our industry, like I listen to Marketecture a ton. That's with our Ari Vaparo and Eric Franchi. They're just going through all the news in ad tech and martech and AI and just what's happening. So that one I love. I as a B2B marketer, CMO, I love listening to Open Market. That's also Eric Franchi, but also Joe Zappa, and that's more of like a practitioner's guide to B2B, which I love. So always walking out of those with some really good ideas. But in our business, I'm always listening to like SaaStr too, and like 20-minute VC for just kind of, broader SaaS tech industry. I love those. Those are always inspiring.
Who are a few of the people who inspire you the most?
Well, I mentioned Jan and Mimi from LinkedIn B2B Institute. Those guys are always great. It's always kind of provocative what they're putting out there. They could be great folks to have on. Putney Kloos is she's a CMO at Bombora. She's been great, doing really good things as like a CMO. And then you came from Amex and Cision, but now inside of like a martech company, which is really interesting. Paul Connectin is a repeat CMO. He was a CMO of Outbrain, which is a publicly traded company, and Beeswax before that. So like some great kind of long-term perspective on like how to break through, particularly for martech companies. So I always enjoy talking with those folks.
Awesome. And then the last question. This is the most important one, though. We saved the hardest one for last. For the folks who want to pick your brain or may want to talk to you about how you could help them with composable marketing, how can they get in touch with you after this episode?
Well, if you're an enterprise marketer or you're at an agency, and particularly if like advertising is a big part of your marketing plan, definitely just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm on there every day. And just hit me up. I'd love to show you a demo, show you how this composable stack works in practice, and some of the like amazing things you can do. Like once you get your data integrated and aligned across all these channels, and then you plug that into an AI analytics tool, like it'll blow your mind.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time today. This is really helpful. I know I'm taking notes here. I have some on my screen too with AI, actually, but lots for me to do to continue to ramp up on this. So thank you so much, Dan.
Yeah, thank you. That was fun.
All right, take care.